We are.
All right, thank you, Ben. At this time, I'd like to call to order the North Canton Committee of the Whole meeting, October 5th, 2020. The time is 7 p.m. Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Foltz,
Here.
Member Peters,
Here?
Member Warren, Member,
An electric in right now.
Member Warren,
The
Oh,
Wi-Fi went out.
here. Sorry.
Member Fonte,
Here.
Member Revolt,
Here.
Member Sreda,
Here.
and Member Stroya.
Here.
7 present.
All right, thank you very much. First up on the agenda, ordinance, rules, and claims. Chairman Stroya, floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So this is the rules of council. We've streamlined them, we're decodifying them. Ben, I'll let you introduce anything that you seem necessary, and then I'll take comments, concerns, questions by section, if that is okay.
As Chairman Shreyas said, we're really, in essence, just decodifying the existing rules of council. And the reason to do this is it gives the legislature full or sole control over its own legislative process. So when the rules of council are codified, that means that if city council wanted to change its own internal processes, the mayor would theoretically have a veto, which would give him undue control over the legislative branch of government. So by decodifying the rules, we bring them completely under the authority of council, and we make them easier to change if council finds that something isn't working as they intended.
Thank you. That's good explanation.
And then the disclaimer that I will add to that is if any part of these rules should become contrary to local or state law, it's considered immediately void.
Is that in here? I didn't see that.
It's the top paragraph right before that introduces everything. But that's just the way it works. I mean,
Okay.
our rules can't supersede local or state law. So
Correct. All right.
Yeah.
So the default is state law or state legislation, right?
Correct.
yes.
Unless it is specifically spelled out in our charter.
Okay, got it.
So rules 1 through 6 under the officers of council. Does anybody have any questions or comments on rules 1 through 6? Anybody?
Did anything change in this group? Like how many? It says 4 votes. I don't remember where I saw that. Or 51%. It says a quorum necessary to conduct business. Oh, that's 8. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Excuse me.
Well, also in 1E, it says
1E.
4 votes if you're thinking about that. And F.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
So it's 4 votes or what is necessary to conduct the business.
Right. Correct.
No, man, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the meetings of council, rules 7 and 8. If anybody has any comments or questions there. Everybody good on that?
Yeah, this is Daryl.
Okay, yeah.
We had in the past, we've had some confusion about the process of the charter requires that the mayor call the organizational meeting, and this ropes the clerk into it to make sure that the notice who gets published, who's responsible for the publication of the notice. And that would be the clerk is instructed to do it at the direction of the mayor. So in other words, it requires some teamwork between the mayor and the clerk.
Thanks, Daryl. Thank you. Anybody else? 7 and 8?
No.
Let's look at the committees of council, rules 9 through 17.
So on the committees, Matt,
Mhm.
that's just like, street and alley chairman. So do we just
Yep.
keep those? We don't have terms on that. We just keep them as long as we want to do them. Is that the point, basically?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Well,
until the president reassigns you.
the term is for 1 year,
1 year.
pending the election of council president.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I've been doing streets and alleys, which I like doing because everybody can yell and be frustrated. So I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Yeah, I
changes
mean,
every year,
so-
Don.
Dominic,
Yeah.
the answer to your question is you get to keep it for a year.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Right. And
They
then you
reassign
can
you because you're doing so great.
Thank you.
you can read Rule 12 about that too, Dominic. How it says, that the
President
council
shall
president
assign-
is
Okay. Got
Matt,
it.
this is Patrick. Where does it say how many members are on a committee?
It does not.
Shouldn't it say that in one of the rules?
It said president and vice president, I think.
It says who
I
the
thought we always had
officers are.
3.
Now, we have all now. It used to be just
Yeah.
three.
Now it's all.
Now everybody.
Well, Patrick,
I mean-
to answer your question, there's an indirect reference. If you look at Rule 23, it requires that you have 4 affirmative votes in council of the whole to advance legislation to the council agenda. So it's indirect, but it certainly implies that your committee is the 7.
You guys want to put it in there? I mean,
It'd be 5.
yeah,
It only needs
I
4
think,
to move it forward.
Well, in Rule 23, the majority, as defined by the final Rule 32, would only mean 51% of the council members at that meeting. So if you only assigned 3 members to that committee,
yeah.
a majority would be 2. As council's rules are currently written in the codified ordinances, there is no official number. It is at the discretion of the president of council to assign as many members as they see fit.
Got it.
But we can
What do you guys
certainly
think?
add a
Yeah.
rule.
Sure.
Well,
Do you guys want to?
We originally did that because, for example, if you were, for example, say somebody wanted to get together with Dominic and Mark to talk about something. Well, if they were 2 members of one committee and they didn't post that, they were in violation of open meetings laws.
Right.
So it made council a little more flexible in that everyone was part of the action and that we didn't fall prey to inadvertently violating open meetings.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
think
saying
it
I
also,
disagree. I just think why aren't you just spelling it out though? I mean, whatever your current practice is.
Well, I don't know if you necessarily need it in the rules. I think, again, it's the current president discretion. Wouldn't that be?
so are you saying to put a thing in here that says all members of council are part of every committee?
You basically
That's what
say
you would-
that at Rule 23.
Well, you know
Do
what
you want to make
could-
it more clear, or do
You
we? You guys tell me.
You know what you could do, Matthew, is take Rule 17 instead of stipulating, because that could create some confusion. 17 right there.
Yep.
See what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you're right. Yeah, I get.
So,
Yep.
so
Good
take
point.
that
Good
out.
catch.
Take that out and put, all 7 members are assigned to each committee. I mean, with
It's
just
just, yeah.
the vice
Why don't you
president.
just have all committees include every council member?
That's good.
Right.
And then there's a chair and a co-chair, right? So the
Right.
co-chair, and then that would give us a little bit of squeeze room on either side of it because we surely don't want to do anything incorrect, right? So this would be fine. It's working the way it is now, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
for-
it the way it works now.
For Rule 17, Matt, you could simply say a committee shall be comprised of a committee chairman, committee vice chairman, plus the other 5 members of council.
Gotcha. Okay, I like that.
There you go.
Did they record that, please?
I got it. I'll write it down.
Thanks.
This is an interesting discussion because this is why we're creating rules, so we can change these again very
Mhm.
easily at the next organizational meeting
Sure.
if it doesn't work for whatever reason.
Well, they look good. I mean, as overall, I think they look. I don't see anything really other than 17 being a little bit confusing.
Yeah,
That
we'll
was
fix
it.
that. That's a good catch. Okay. Any other questions, comments on the committees of council, 9 through 17?
I just wanted to highlight in Rule 9C, we changed the name of Ordinance Rules and Claims to just Ordinance and Rules, since Moral Claims has been repealed for 8 years now.
Job done.
Good catch.
Mm-hmm.
I've been waiting for that for 8 years.
Feel free to always interject.
I always like that water, sewage, and rubbish. Rubbish sounds English.
It does.
Rubbish.
English, rubbish. It's called trash.
Hogwash.
All right, let's move on to the council docket, rules 18 through 29. I have a couple when you guys are done.
On Rule 25, we have to plug a number in there.
Well, so that's the format that I assign.
Yeah.
So they get a 3-digit number. So like the first one in the year is going to be 001, and then it's
Okay.
going to say 2021.
Thank you.
We did change, was it Rule 21, Ben, with the agenda report by Tuesday?
Yeah, so back when we first brought this up, the previous 2 times, we were going to move that due date forward. However, with the contracting out of legal review, we have found that we actually need that extra time now. And so we're going to leave the due date at 4 p.m. on Tuesday instead of moving it to Wednesday.
Has that
And we
worked
can-
pretty well?
So far, yes. So we've actually been able to tie Krugliak directly into our Granicus approval structure.
Oh, great.
So when, say, Patrick submits an item, after it's finished drafted, it automatically sends it to Krugliak for review, and it can't move forward onto an agenda until it's been approved.
Oh,
Okay.
that's great. But I mean, you have allowed some flexibility too, which I think is appreciated and necessary in this day and age.
Yep.
Yeah, so we always have the ability to override it with the president's permission if something
Yes.
comes up.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Let me point out a potential problem on Rule 26. F, recognition of visitors. I think we need to have a discussion on who we consider a visitor versus who's giving a presentation. Potentially, we could lock out somebody Daryl gave the example, if the EPA is coming in to give us a presentation, we don't want to give them a 5-minute time limit. So maybe they should not go under recognition of visitors. Maybe there should be a separate category.
Special presentations?
Well, yeah,
So,
what
yeah,
did
that-
we do
yeah,
before? I know, because we've never, anyone who's had a presentation, we've never stopped
Right.
them.
Right.
Set them up
We've-
beforehand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've always put them at the top of the agenda directly after the roll call.
Yeah, I don't even feel like they go in recognition of visitors.
I agree with that.
What would the category be then? I mean,
No
that's,
category.
I just want to spell it out.
Special
Presentations, okay.
presentations. Yeah.
So we could add special presentation to, so it'd be right after roll call? No, it'd be after consideration
Or, yeah,
of
consideration.
items.
Yep,
So it'd be in between E and F there?
correct.
Okay, and we're gonna call that, you guys like special presentation?
Yeah, that's good.
Or,
Because we might have to vote on it if it wasn't,
Yeah,
so that's good.
So
okay.
special presentations to council.
yeah,
At the invitation of council or the administration.
yeah, either or.
Okay, yep, okay.
Yeah, because there will be at times the mayor would have proclamations, presentations, that type of thing.
Thank you.
Okay, so how about presentations at the invitation of city officials?
Fine.
Sounds
Or-
Good
good.
with that.
That works.
That's good. Okay. Anything else? Do you guys like the flow of the meetings? I mean,
Yep.
seems to be working.
Uh-huh.
Let's go to anything else.
Well, let's review 24, Matt, so we
Sure.
understand it. By 2/3 majority vote of seated members of council, council may suspend Rule 25 and place legislation on council agenda without a favorable vote in committee.
So that's supposed to be Rule 23, not 25. That was a typo.
Ah, gotcha.
And it is fixed in the legislation version, but not in the version attached to the agenda request.
Okay.
Okay, that's the voice vote. Okay. Good catch.
Okay, so we're saying 20. Well, let's go. So what are we doing with Rule 24? It's still intact?
Yeah, that's still nothing's changed there, right, Ben? That's just
Yeah, so Rule
yeah,
24
nothing's
allows
changed.
council to bypass committee if something is so urgent and pressing that it must be dealt with immediately. Currently, as council rules are written right now, it only requires a simple majority, and this would raise it to a 2/3 majority.
oh, gotcha. Okay.
So you're saying we could put something on council without a committee meeting?
Correct.
But you
We
would
just
need
did that.
5 members instead of 4.
Are we
Right.
all okay with that?
And that was the rule previously. We're just making it a higher
Standard.
amount. Right.
Correct.
Yeah. So instead of 4, now it's 5.
I like that.
Is that more common?
More people
Is that
use
what,
that.
is that what other organizations? Okay.
Yes.
Well, if you're going to move forward with something without a committee meeting, I would prefer having more folks on board than
Yeah, I
just a
agree.
couple.
Right. Yep.
We-
That's
we're-
that was
we're
our
saying-
thinking.
To place on legislation without a committee. Have we ever done that?
Yeah, we just did that. What was that, Ben?
Well,
But we've
so
done it without committee report.
we've done it
Without a
without
committee-
committee
committee
We
report.
suspended reports,
That's right.
but we always had a
That's right.
committee meeting to talk about it because you don't want to get in a situation where you're not have the availability of public speaks on it. You got to
Right.
watch that.
Yeah, that's a
I'll
great
concur
point,
with
Doug.
Doug.
I want to think about this because, yeah, I think
Okay.
we've always had a special committee, even if we had to do it before the council meeting.
Right.
And then, Jeff, we opened up the public speaks portion of it, just if we had to pass something, just so we still allowed the public to weigh in.
Yeah.
I don't
I
want to
don't
lose
have-
the public participation on that. I'm trying, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I just want to make sure we're
No,
there.
Doug, you're absolutely correct. This is Daryl.
Yeah.
And Doug, you've always made sure we've done that, quite honestly.
Yeah, because we don't ever want to say, well, we didn't let the public weigh in and we just.
Right.
made
That's a good point.
decisions, or 7
Nope.
people in the community.
Well,
I just think it's something.
Wait, guys, one at a time, please.
Hey, I'm a lady. I spoke up too.
Yeah, Doug, I think you're correct. I like having, if it's something that it's that urgent, you can do a quick committee prior to, and then have the public weigh in in the regular council meeting.
Right. And then we would always try to have at least a second reading. I mean, as a standard,
Right.
it depends on the issue or the legislation that we need. If it's really a true necessity emergency, obviously we have that leeway, but I'd like to clean that up somehow.
Yeah,
All right, so let's clean up 23 and 24.
Yeah, let's just try to rewrite those.
Okay. That's a good
Okay.
test.
So
That
do
was
we still
not our
want the
intention.
power to exist, or do we
No,
want everything to go through a committee?
I
No,
want it to go through a committee.
Then
Yeah,
we could just strike Rule 24.
Strike it.
Let's strike it. If we, like Daryl, like you mentioned, we can
Yeah,
always
that
bring
would
it
work.
back. We can bring it back December, 1st or organizational meetings and change it or something. But
Yeah, but
Yeah,
let's
but I
strike
don't
it
think
for now.
we've never needed it.
well, I agree. So let's not have it. But
Yeah.
in case we want to change it,
Okay, let's strike 24.
Yeah, strike 24.
Yeah.
Doug's onto something here again. What we really want to make sure we are is that we're not so anxious to adopt something that we preclude an opportunity for the public to weigh in. Otherwise, it would appear that we're simply railroading a piece of legislation. It becomes then, maybe some standard form of conduct. We don't want that.
right?
Thank you. That's good.
Okay, good
Hey,
decision, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Matt, are you, not that I care, I'm just pointing out nuances, but in Rule 24, it talks about you can get legislation on the council agenda without a favorable vote in committee. That's different than not having a committee meeting. The way I read that would be you didn't get, Rule 23 says you got to get an affirmative majority voice vote. Rule 24 says, well, if you don't get an affirmative majority voice vote, then you need 2/3 to get it on a council agenda. That's different than coming out of and not having a committee meeting per se, and just going straight to the
Right.
floor with the matter. Just wanted to point that out.
I see what you're saying, but I think the rules
Yeah.
of council should stipulate that it goes through committee, period, and then to the legislative agenda.
Just wanted to put everything on the table
Yeah.
for you.
I got
Well,
you.
thank you. Well, yeah, and I guess if we have 7-member committees, that's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can strike that. I think, yeah, I like what you guys are saying. Okay. Anything else up to Rule 29? Let's look at the other rules 30 to 32. Everything's pretty straightforward there, I think. Any comments, questions on those rules? Any other thoughts on the rules as we've gone through that part and discussed them?
So are you saying in Rule 31, Matt, that you don't need, you only need to refer it to committee, you need 3 votes to
Yeah.
refer it to committee? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So it's designed so that a political minority can propose changes, but not necessarily enact changes.
So if one person or two people, they would not be able to, you need three?
They
It
would
doesn't
need
say at least three, it just says three.
How was it? This is Dominic. How was it before this? How
well,
many people?
right now it requires passing legislation to amend the rules of council.
Well,
This would
it's
just be to propose, not to approve.
This is Foltz. To weigh in again, this kind of confuses me in the sense that I think it's a crossover for when we just had 3 committee members. When you say the last line of the paragraph, first paragraph, after consideration, the Ordinance and Rules Committee shall report its recommendations to the council as a whole. Well, everybody's on the committee. I'm really trying to figure out what we're saying here. Somebody on the floor wants to make a motion. If with 3 favorable votes, it's referred to a specific committee for consideration. But everybody's on the committee.
Yeah,
So-
but Doug, remember this, is that we're not adopting the rules as an ordinance or a resolution, correct? These are simply our rules.
Yeah, this is
So
only for
it's
the
not going to
rules.
move
This is only
through
for-
the
yeah.
it's not going to
This
be
is
the
only for
regular
council
legislative
rules.
process.
Not ordinances. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, it's only to the Ordinance and Rules Committee.
Just everybody.
So it would
But
require
there's-
Right. It is. Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of redundant. It's kind of,
It is a little. Yeah. Yeah.
the intention is that it requires 2 weeks of discussion to make a change.
Right.
So you can't
maybe we
in
can-
1 week propose, make a change, and then act
And then
on it.
approve. Right. Yeah.
So it's supposed to
Good
be a
point.
protection for a minority, in that the majority can't just be like, oh, the minority's holding us up because of this one rule. We're just going to get rid of it right now.
We can probably clean this up a little bit.
yeah, let's say
Yeah,
that.
That is. Yeah. Yeah. We'll clean that up, but that is what Ben said is the intent of it,
Okay.
to take 2 meetings.
Maybe we ought to just say that.
Yeah,
That's what-
that's,
yeah.
yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
We'll clean that up. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments, questions on any of the rules as a whole? Okay. Do I need a motion to put this on the agenda?
Well, it's under your committee.
It's your, no, as long, I think we're all favorable putting it on.
As long as you got 4.
Okay, yep, I move to put this on the agenda.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Matt, you have one.
Okay, yep, let me, on B, very similar, we're decodifying. The best sheet to follow around in this is the one that, it was the Word document that has it stricken in red. You guys all have that available? Ben, if you want to kick this off, go ahead.
One moment, and I can pull up the sheet.
And then we'll do the same thing. We'll just go section by section.
There, it should be on screen for everyone now.
Thank you.
So as Matt said, this is the accompanying amendments to Chapter 111, where council's rules are currently codified. As we've done with a couple other pieces of legislation this year, these two are, or should be, in tandem with each other. So if council decides not to pass one, we really shouldn't pass the other, as then we'll create conflicting and problematic rules.
All right, let's look at 111.01 for the meeting times, places.
So we're going from the second and fourth Monday to the first, third, and fifth for regular council meetings.
We're switching the order. Yeah, I'm proposing to switch the order. That way,
What's the reason?
yeah, well, I'm hoping, the reason I'm hoping to get rid of all the special in front of every meeting that we have. I think if we go in this order, it's going to cut that down quite a bit.
Why?
Yeah,
Well,
do
if
we
you
have that many?
The special meetings, yeah, we do.
Yeah, but what's it going to help?
Just order. I mean, if we start with a committee of a whole versus a regular, you have more days to do regular business than committee of a whole.
I guess, I don't know. I'm not seeing it that, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I guess I'm thinking you're just switching the order, so it's still going to be the same thing. People are still coming up with the same ordinances or things that need cleared.
So,
I guess I've always seen, when we use, the quote unquote special moniker, I've never really seen that as a bad thing. Some folks do, but I've never seen it as bad. I see it as a legislative body that is flexible to the needs of the administration. And whatever else comes their way. So, I guess I could kind of understand it. Might maybe get rid of 2 or 3 special meetings in a year. But you're still going to have those issues on the third Monday. I guarantee you next year, Pat's going to say, hey, I need something. And we need to talk about something in committee, and there's going to be a special committee on that third Monday. I don't know. I guess I've just never seen the problem with having special meetings. I've always looked at it as us being flexible and responsive. So that's just my 2 cents. The rest of you guys can.
Okay. What's everybody else think?
Well, this is Foltz. I think we always had a committee meeting first to introduce discussion on any issue or future ordinance. And to me, it was like a clean slate after your organizational meeting. The next meeting was going to be a committee, or January 1st after that date, you'd be a committee just to prepare yourself for a council meeting. But now we're saying that's the first meeting of the month. That's what I'm wrapping myself around.
Okay.
And I agree with President Peters in the sense that, we're still going to have special meetings to maybe move ordinances through that need 3 readings at a quicker pace that we all feel is necessary for the public to be aware of that and to pass it. To me, it's committee, then council. Here we're putting council first. And then, do we need a 5th council meeting on a fifth Monday. I think that depends on how busy we are or what's on our agenda that needs passed.
Sure.
Yeah.
We necessarily don't always have a third council meeting a month. Depends on, I guess, the administration's request to us as far as what's necessary in their mind that we have to review and pass. So I'm fine with the way the system is now. But I'm trying to figure out how, and man, I'm not saying you're not onto something. I'm just trying to figure out how it's going to work, that it's more productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, sorry, go ahead.
Well, those are good points, Doug. And if you look at some of the national holidays that we go up against, like the Martin Luther King and presidents, those are the third Mondays. And then you've got Labor Day, which is a first Monday. So you're almost knocking out some of your meetings there, whereas before we didn't come in competition with those.
Well, and then you look at Christmas, Thanksgiving, those are the fifth Mondays typically, so you're not going to meet those weeks anyways.
Well, we're typically on holiday at that point, Steph.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, Thanksgiving we're not.
Yeah, this is Daryl. Maybe I'm going to really think out of the box here. Maybe what we ought to do is just stick close to the charter. The charter says we've got to meet once a month. Let's require in our codified ordinances that we meet, specify a business meeting the second Monday of every month, and authorize the council president to call other meetings as he deems appropriate. And it can be a council of the whole. It can be, and Jeff does it now, really. We go through the agenda. He says, hey, we're going to have this meeting. This is what the schedule looks like. Maybe we just don't specify it. We let the council president establish it.
I would be okay with that, but
Wow.
if I'm
Is
not
that
mistaken, can't the mayor?
The mayor can call him too. And the mayor's got that authority under the charter.
Yeah, I think
I like that.
I think Daryl's onto something there, because
I do too.
What the charter says is that, if there is no other process in your rules for meeting, then it reverts to the charter. The charter specifies how meetings may be called. A vote of council taken at any regular or special meeting thereof.
Yeah. Well,
if I could interject here too, not to get too nitpicky here, but when talking about meeting times, I don't think using the word shall is a good way to go, because that really that pigeonholes you into that.
Orders, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
The charter says you shall hold regular meetings at least once during each month.
yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I mean, that's
Everything else
charter.
maybe ought to be by rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, Daryl.
yeah, this is full swing in again. I just think, Jeff, I think we've done a better job, and I credit to you, as far as looking at the future agenda that's written out. At the end of the meeting, we know what our expectations are and we review it. I mean, we don't get a lot of calls. You're not calling, or Ben's not calling us to have a special meeting. That used to happen more than you think.
It did.
You remember, I'm going years back now, but in this sense, I think we've tidied this up to have it at the end of the council meeting where you're looking at the future agendas, dates for when we're meeting. And I think that's important. And we can always change that right then with you, with the vote of council. So I like Daryl's idea with the flexibility of one meeting. We're not just going to have one meeting a month. That's not going to happen, but at least it's there, and we build from that for the rest of the month.
What you say is the council shall meet at least once a month.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like that if we need to have two council of the whole meetings, or we need to have a special 3 weeks in a row, and maybe there isn't legislation.
Right.
That's great.
Well, and I will say that
timely. And it's
I will say
purposeful.
this, over the course of the last year, it has moved a lot smoother, and not to not to stroke anyone, but I think the administration and Pat in particular, I think he's been very mindful of our schedule, and he's got a clear agenda on what he's asking us to do. So that's been very helpful as well.
Could I just interject one more thing? I'm sorry to be talking so much during this process. I really didn't anticipate that. But you remember the discussion about like what happens when it's a special meeting and how that affects that the agenda can't be amended and you can only talk about what's on the agenda. Are we setting up by only saying, I'm just thinking out loud, by saying there's only one meeting and everything else then would everything else be characterized as a special meeting?
Oh boy.
And then you would only be able to talk about and wouldn't be able to adjust the agenda?
No, Pat, this is Daryl. I don't believe that's true. Council, I disagree with, I think a meeting I think the term special was misapplied.
I agree.
And I think council has the authority to meet anytime it wants in session. It doesn't necessarily make it a special meeting. You'll notice that the charter doesn't mention special regular meetings.
Well, it does.
It mentions regular and it mentions special, but not in the same sentence.
Right.
Would this be a legal question to ask our law people?
No, they would know nothing.
No.
Can we identify that
Yes.
by council rule?
Yeah.
Do we want to define that here?
Well, I think the best way to do this would be to set up the rule to say that at the last meeting of the previous month, council shall determine its regular meetings for the succeeding month.
That's exactly it, Ben.
I like that.
This is Daryl. Pat, to your question, a special meeting is one that has not been scheduled. So if we look at the month ahead and we say this is going to be our legislative calendar, and then we say, well, we've got to have an extra regular council meeting, later on, that regular meeting then becomes a special meeting. But that's the way I read it.
So then by that example, Daryl, like we could have back-to-back regular council meetings. The second
Sure.
one doesn't have to be special.
As
All right.
long as we've agreed to that calendar in advance.
Right.
Yeah, but
I like
often
that.
we don't know
I
that.
like that.
Are you saying back to back on the same night?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, but when Jeff goes at the end of the meeting, he says, look, this is our schedule for the next 4 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
And we vote, we've set the calendar.
So if I may, what if we write the rule so as to say, at the organizational meeting, council shall set the calendar for December. Then at the last scheduled meeting in each month after that, council shall set the calendar for the following month.
That's fine.
I like that.
I'm good with that. I think that definitely cuts down on special meetings then.
That keeps us flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wouldn't
And
have
you
the
can add a
flexibility.
special meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and I'm going way, way back now in the time machine. I think at the organizational meeting, we used to adopt a calendar for that year.
Yeah.
For the whole year?
Now, yeah, I think so. This is before your time. This is when I was, in nappies, but
Wow.
I think we did vaguely. But that's a good approach. What you just suggested, Ben.
Yeah, I'd like that, Ben.
Okay.
All right, so Ben, we know the intent, and Matt, so we just need to change paragraph A.
Yeah. That's good.
And so we're doing that for both council and committee of the whole, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, if I could make a suggestion, and this goes to kind of what we're going to do here, we really ought to bring this back one more time to our committee of the whole to really look at this, make sure it all hangs together.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I agree, Daryl.
Well, and
Rather than
Daryl, I
sticking it-
like, Daryl, you were always so good about saying too, like, hey, if this doesn't work, we'll switch it. We'll change it again. So it's
This is
something we
the-
could try. And
Yeah.
then if it doesn't work, we'll change it again.
Yeah, and this is the beauty of having this stuff decodified in your rules, because you can change the rules pretty easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just making notes here.
No, that's okay. As far as public speaks and fellow council members, are we saying there's no special meeting so that will always be available to the public?
Sure.
No, we can say
Yes.
there could be a special council meeting. There could be.
Because
But the
now
idea
when
is to
there's,
do it.
because there's, when there's special council meetings, we have to amend the rules to have public speaks.
No,
So-
we've been putting that in there as of late.
Yeah,
Even-
we've been doing it but that was always the intent to, okay.
Okay,
Right, but you can
Well,
only talk
it's-
about what was on the agenda at a
What was
special
on the
council
agenda
meeting.
for a special
Yes.
meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
You couldn't
Right.
come in and talk about something else, some other situation in the city. Okay, so we're all happy
Doug?
with that?
Doug, to your
Okay.
point, then maybe that's something we need to add to the rules.
I think we gotta
Clarify
clarify that. So it's spelled out so we don't have discussion on the floor or someone says, well, I don't understand what you're doing.
Right.
Let's put it in sentence format. Yeah, I agree.
Well, so will
Yeah.
you say that again, Doug?
What we're saying is there's a special council meeting, you can only talk about the topic of the special council meeting. Or
You
whatever
mean,
the ordinance,
you mean for public speaks?
yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And we
Very
need to
good.
put that in writing versus
Yeah.
all our other regular meetings.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll clarify public speaks for committee or special and regular meetings.
Yes.
Right.
A
Well,
larger question that goes with that is that currently in this proposal, public speaks remains in the codified ordinances and not in the rules of council. Is
then
it,
change
would
it to
council
codified
like to
ordinance.
move them to the rules instead of the codified ordinances?
No, I don't see any reason why you would do that. Public speaks is public speaks. It's just the topic that you can speak of in a special meeting.
Yeah,
would be-
but it's interesting with like Canton City Council, you speak on the topics that are with the agenda.
Always.
At
Yeah,
all
every meeting.
Oh,
times.
Right. So I think we've lost some control of our meetings because we haven't followed that
Mhm.
rule. And that's when it gets
Yeah, but that
nasty.
shuts
and-
people down. That shuts people out.
Yeah, but
I
we
don't
never had
agree
that
with
rule.
No, it
I mean,
doesn't
yeah.
shut people out because they can call us at any time. We're an open body. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think then we need to have more control.
Well,
Because
I
that's
was-
when if it starts to get pointed and targeted, I do think it needs shut down. If they want to call us and talk to us on the phone and talk in that manner, that's fine. But that is not what public speaks is for.
well, you know,
Well,
this-
I
this
think
is
it's an
me- this
open
is
mic.
Peters here.
Well, it's
would
not in a lot of instances.
I would tend to disagree with that because I mean I've often been the subject of attacks that has nothing to do with the topic at hand, but I still would not do anything to limit that. I mean, that's
Yeah, I agree.
I think people should be able to say whatever they want,
Mm-hmm.
you know, anytime they want, you know. Now, if in a special council meeting where we're conducting the city's business and they want to talk on the topic at hand on that meeting, absolutely give them the opportunity to speak specifically to a special council meeting item. But any regular council meeting, they could, you know, whatever. You know, I've
I
had people
agree.
complain about how I dress.
I
Yeah.
agree.
They
And
do
I
whatever.
agree with
See,
your
and I
draft.
think and I think it gets distorted. You guys should go down to a Canton City Council meeting. It's orderly.
But
it's
we're not staff. We're
and
not
it's
Canton
there.
City staff.
Hey,
We're not,
exactly, Dominic. But we can
we're
also
pickleball
learn
people.
from other areas. And
pick-
we're All-Star County, and we can take advice and suggestions from anyone.
It
And
seems
there
like it's
isn't-
working.
Well, I don't know. I don't think when you have personal attacks, it works.
Well, you just got to brush it off. It's just, you got to look at the source.
Dominic, it's not about brushing it off. It's about what is good for the good of the city.
More
Personal
often than
attacks
not,
don't work.
well, Steph, more often than not, the personal attacks reflect more
They do.
on the attacker than who they're talking about.
Yeah,
So,
it's not about brushing it off. It's about wasting the time of other citizens that actually have good things to say. If they stick with the agenda, no
that's
problem.
fair.
We
That's
all
fair.
have phones. We all have phones.
Well-
People can call us at any time and speak to
Well,
us.
Steph, to your point, I think the personal attacks is the issue. So
Yeah.
let's eliminate it. I mean, there's some discretion if someone doesn't like what somebody voted or what doing, but there's a point of no return that we just have to write in the language that gives Jeff the the tool he needs to say this is done.
Yeah.
The disrespectful stuff, right?
Exactly.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about. Why would we waste the time of other citizens that are waiting to talk about things that are for the good of the city?
If I may
But a lot of it's
interject,
not disrespectful. Yeah, a lot of it they're
I
bringing
agree.
to our attention some things
I agree.
that we don't know about.
But that's not what I'm talking about, obviously.
So when they cut on you, you just want them to stay on task.
Stay
Don't
on
talk about
task.
personal.
Stay on city business.
Don't
Yes,
talk about your hair or anything like that. I get it.
Well, this is full. To the point, we probably had discussion about Bitzer Park trees, and it hasn't been on the agenda. And do we want to eliminate that?
No.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they're just talking about the trees for the most part. They're not saying.
Now, don't forget though, he could have called and easily
Yeah.
we could have said, "Hey, put this on the agenda. We're going to talk about this."
Yeah, but that's the only point. I get the personal stuff. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm zero tolerant on that. But
And I think anytime we can learn from other people, Dominic, I'm going to do it. So if
I'm
other
learning from
organizations
you,
have good
Stephanie.
ideas, then I'm going to do it.
I'm open-minded. I
So
get it.
back to saying, how would we eliminate the personal? I guess not even eliminate it, but if it starts to stray towards that, I don't need to hear it about Jeff or Dom or what the mayor. That just isn't relevant to what we're trying to do.
So
how
Jeff can
do we?
stop it. Jeff can stop it and just say, stop the rudeness. Stay on mission here.
But is there something like?
I think we're going to have to define that. If we're
Right.
going to put that in, it's got to be defined.
if I may interject real quick, when we were initially drafting this back in May with the former law director, he informed Matt and I that there are certain court cases that generally preclude local government entities who offer a chance for public comment from controlling the content of that public comment.
that is correct. Now, you do have in section 11109, the rules of decorum, courtesy, and propriety. I mean, it does spell out, it has to be orderly, efficient, dignified manner, without disruptions. But, how many times have we had disruptions and I've thrown people out of the meeting just to have them called back in because I knew that there was a topic that they were interested in. So, I mean, I don't know if we really need to.
I think I think it'll just solve its own problem.
I do.
We're improving things so much. You're going to always have a complainer
agree.
no matter what. I just say, give them their 5 minutes and move on to the next one.
I agree, Don.
Well, then I would ask if it's Jeff or whoever's the president to control that narrative. I don't think anyone needs to hear it. So if it gets out of hand, and Jeff, I think even if it's pointed towards you, I don't need to hear it. I don't care if you're in a disgruntled with someone. That's not what those meetings are for. You can do it afterwards. So
That's
I
fair.
would ask that whoever president controls it and limits it.
That's
That's
fair.
fair.
Even if it's Jeff.
Yeah. If it's Dom,
No,
definitely
even
let
if
it
it's
go.
Dom.
No, let it go.
I
Actually,
don't care. Hey, I
actually
got-
kick Dom out of the meeting.
Hey, I got stuff around plenty.
That's
Life is short. Play hard.
That's
All right. So is the consensus
Okay.
for this that we want to keep it for special meetings? It's on
That's
topic.
fine.
Yes.
For regular meetings, it's open.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
so we will define that. Okay. All right. So any other comments on that section 01? All right, let's move on to O2, the council structure. Just a real small section. Nothing. Everything's pretty straightforward there.
Mhm.
Anything on that? Anyone?
Oh, looks good.
Nope.
Okay, let's move to O3, the committees of council. Well, that part is repealed anyway, so
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
let's go to 4, O4, the legislative procedure. Everything is decodified there.
There are
Okay.
2 new additions at the end.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, good catch. In red, okay.
Ben, you want to change the screen for anybody watching?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah, verbatim minutes. I don't think anybody's opposed to that.
No.
No.
Not with the system we have now.
Right. Okay, we good on 05 then?
Well, okay, let me think here.
Yep.
I'm looking at 1105A. If you have a situation where you've got multiple new council members coming in, how are they going to have, well, unless they're supplied the potential rules and regulations that they're passing. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, how?
Yeah. What you're saying, Jeff, if you have a turnover of 4 people, how are they going to know what to change?
Right.
Because
Yeah,
they haven't even had a meeting yet, basically, right?
Exactly.
Well, just push that to January if you want to, or give that new council a chance to.
Or require
Review it.
them. Require
How about we
them
give
to
them the
review
rules
it.
after they're elected?
Well, how about requiring the newly elected council to review at the first committee meeting the rules?
In January, well, it could be in December, but
Could be in December.
I mean, anytime if you're appointing someone, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
put that down.
Oh, that's a good point, Mark.
What was that, Mark? I'm sorry.
Well, could
If you
be
appoint
anytime if you're
someone.
appointing someone like in the middle, so you shouldn't put a month down for that. It should
You're right.
maybe within the first week of their whatever,
How about the first opportunity, just at the first opportunity, provide the rules and the regulations?
Just after they're elected.
well,
Yeah,
that's different
or
than
appoint.
changing it,
Yeah, then adopting.
adopting it. We're talking about adopting the rules. They're already adopted with one member comes in at any time.
Right. So say, for example, you have an election where there's 4 new council members.
Right.
And the majority of council is brand new, and then you're going to ask them at the same time they're being sworn in that they adopt the
Right.
rules of council they don't know anything about.
So do we want to say at the first committee meeting following the organizational meeting?
Yeah, that they discuss it and then adopt it on the first council meeting. That way they at least get a first committee and a council meeting underneath their belt before they do that.
Yeah, I think that's
Gotcha.
better. Good point, Jeff.
Good catch. I'm just taking notes if anybody wants to discuss anything else there.
Go ahead. I'm still looking.
that's a good point, because I mean, I know in my situation, if I had to vote on the rules when I was right after I was sworn in, I would have abstained because
Right,
I wouldn't have known. Those wouldn't be my rules. So
Yeah.
right.
Imagine if you had a
Yeah,
majority
that's
of council coming in new and they all
Right.
Yeah.
abstained.
yeah,
You
that's a
have no
good point.
rules.
Right. Okay. Any other comments on 05? Or that was 04, sorry.
Oh, four, yeah.
Yeah. 05 is repealed, 06 is repealed. Turn it over. Okay, then we'll go to 07 is notice.
Let me ask you a question, just to further muddy the water a little bit. We want to make sure that maybe what we could do is you're going to know on election night, although the vote isn't certified, you're going to know who is elected. Should we have the clerk deliver to that individual a copy of the charter and the rules, so they are prepared and onboarded roughly by the time,
That night?
no, they get ready for November. You can go out sometime in November and get them whatever they need in terms of the charter and the rules, and then by the time they get to the organizational meeting, at least got some passing familiarity.
So within maybe that first week, you're not suggesting that on that night.
No, hell no. Nobody's sober.
Exactly. I was like, Daryl, you were so flexible and not so stringent.
Yeah, they're out.
Wow.
Just have them be presented at the organizational meeting, because we don't usually vote on anything at that point, and they'll have at least a week then to be to be prepped.
Well, we do already have the provision that the clerk needs to offer parliamentary procedure training prior to the organizational meeting.
But that's not the same as what's going on in the city. That's like yes, no, yes, blah, 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 Robert's rules.
Well, essentially what these rules here are council adopting its own version of parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, good point. But maybe we stipulate in here that the clerk delivers copy of the charter and previous term council rules for the incoming new members to review.
That's good.
That's good.
Okay.
I think Daryl should have to give classes on the charter.
That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
I think Ben's gonna be doing it.
I think you should wear a special hat to do that too.
Oh, good. Can't you see it?
It's called a dunce cap.
Like I was going to say wizard hat, but you kind of, the camouflage
dunce
hat,
cap.
but that's okay.
Okay, I got that down. Okay, so clerk. All right, got that. Okay, let's go over to 07, the notice. Anybody have any? I mean, not a lot changes this one.
Seems like it's been fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go over to 08, the survey of constituents. We talked about this in some of the previous meetings as well. And Jeff, there's your 09, the rules of decorum, courtesy, and proprietary.
Ah, there we go.
Propriety.
There you go, Jeff.
Now we're talking. What am I going to do here, Steph?
It's the same. You're just going to be more purposeful during the meetings.
Okay.
You're going to have a line waiting for you at the end of the meetings. Or they can fire at you.
I think to take care of this is before anybody, and Jeff's done a pretty good job of it, but before people start speaking, maybe we need to set that in place. You know, I mean, he says 5 minutes now, but maybe a couple words like, you know, respectful and, you know, to the point. You have 5 minutes and maybe something out front, you know, not disrupting or anything like that out front before we let people speak so they know the rules.
Yeah.
I could absolutely. I agree with that. However,
And most people are great, honestly. I love it.
For the folks that you have to remind, the grown men and women, you have to remind them to be respectful and conduct themselves in a dignified manner. Typically, a quick reminder before they speak is not going to change that. But I certainly could remind them, you know.
Yeah. And just remind them we are all there afterwards and are happy to stay, and we all have fun ones. And but yeah, I mean, like the tree. I like hearing those things, and we do get some really good ideas that people maybe just thought of and didn't have time to call us, and just feel it's easier to come to the meetings, and that I do enjoy that. It's just some of the other things that I think can be held for afterwards that those people waiting to talk or our other constituents just don't need to hear at that moment.
You only need a few words, you know, respectful, courteous, no personal attacks. You don't need a whole lot, just one sentence.
Yeah, very good.
Is there anything we want to change in 09 or?
No, it looks good, Matt.
I think it's good.
Let's go to 10, council.
And Jeff, you've been good too about limiting them to the 5 minutes for everybody. And I think that's important. Just to have that consistency.
I don't see where it says 5 minutes.
Yeah, and C,
See?
111.10C.
Gupta, before you do that,
Oh.
look at A, guests of council.
I see
Remember,
it.
we had some discussion, we may want to alter that language.
I see it now. Thanks.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what we talked about earlier, right?
Yes.
That would fall under special presentation.
Yes, these are not, these visitors, these are not, I would just simply use, instead of guests of council, visitors are permitted to speak only to recognition of visitors.
That's a good point. Yeah. Then we keep that clear separation.
Yeah.
Visitors shall observe.
Visitors, yes.
yeah. So we don't even need to mention the presentations,
No, not here.
right?
Not in here, not in this one, because we
Okay.
did it in the rules. Yeah.
No, that's great. Stick with the same words. Visitors are visitors.
That's a good catch.
You know, B, are we good, Matt? Can we go on to B now?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
In the part that we didn't strike out there, we leave that off sometimes. They name and their address. But then in this, it says subject matter. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't know what they're talking about. They start talking about it, and then we have to tell them, you can't talk about that. I mean, so maybe we just need to say that ahead of time. You know, speakers that come up here to give your name and address and subject matter. So they know ahead of time instead of going into it that they can't. You know, especially at a special meeting, they start talking about something else.
In a special meeting, I think that's where it applies.
Yeah.
And in a regular council meeting, they can
Talk about anything.
they can talk about anything they want.
Okay, so we want to put name and address and subject matter for special meetings.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Or you may want to say that at special meetings, this visitor may only speak on an agenda item.
And Jeff does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah,
Most of the time.
he states that.
Okay.
I'm making notes. Go ahead if you guys want to talk about the next couple.
Matt, this is Patrick on 110, on an item D. Have you contemplated when we have technical failures of alarms or timers that are visible? I can recount, numerous council meetings where we might not have the
Oh, yeah.
screen up, or there might not be an alarm.
Oh, good point.
Should you put in there something about, or told by the president of the council that their time is up, or something like that, that you have that as a backup?
That's good.
Pat, are you suggesting some sort of hook? Is that what you're saying here?
Like
A
the
gentle
Apollo?
hook.
Maybe I watch too many cartoons.
Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
So if we put it, or as indicated by president of council's notice.
Yeah, that will work.
Also on number C, it seems like in the past, we have said that we are not speaking back during public speaks. In this
Right.
particular, it says that once it returns to his or her seat, the council member or city employee who is seated at the
Right.
council dais responds to the speaker's
Yeah.
comments. Are we going to do that, or aren't we going to do that?
No,
Yeah.
no, I don't think we should do that, Mark. It's just Foltz.
Okay.
I think you should wait
But
to the
it's in
end of the
here.
meeting. I think there's gonna, if it's addressed directly after someone comes up during public speaks, they're gonna weigh back in because they're gonna want to rebuttal it. And there is no
Yeah.
rebuttal. There's no, I think we just wait to the end of the meeting, we can collect our thoughts, and that's fine. That's a fine time to respond, after the meeting. I mean, our last go around, for our reports. That's
Reports.
fine.
Yeah.
And it mentions in the next one, D, the council members and city employees at the dais are available following the meeting
Yes,
if the speaker wishes to continue. Yeah.
exactly.
So we need to strike that then in that portion.
I agree with C.
Okay.
If we're gonna go with that. So there's no debate back and forth while the rest of us sit there and listen to that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think this
Okay,
is
so
different. This is different than a special guest that we want to address. Like if
Correct.
someone's here coming up that wants to talk about some study they did, just say, on a utility or something, and we want to engage that person, we can do that because there's special presentation to council. However we want to word that. That's different than public speaks for general public.
Okay, so let's strike the last sentence in that.
Yeah, you guys following what I'm
That should-
saying
okay.
there?
Yes, yep, that makes sense.
If the mayor has a proclamation, or if somebody wants to address something to council before public speaks, we can engage that person. We still have
Yeah.
that ability.
So you want to strike out only after the speaker has completed and all the way to the end?
Yes, yeah, the whole last sentence.
Right.
I think that resolves that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we good on that section then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the last part, the salaries and bonds.
Okay.
We discussed this before too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
All right. Good job, Matt.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, nice job, man.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. A lot of hard work on that, Matt, and Ben as well. Nice work.
Yeah, thank you, Ben, Daryl, Patrick, everybody.
Well, yes.
A lot of work went into this. Okay, so what's the consensus here? We want to bring it back for further discussion after these changes to the next committee of the whole?
That's not a
Yeah, I
bad
think
I
we
would
idea.
suggest you do that.
Go through the changes that we made this week. You don't have to go through
Okay.
the whole thing, and make sure that, we know that they're all in there as
Walk
we
through it
discuss.
one more time.
Yeah,
let's do
give
that.
us an updated version once we read through that one and see the flow. I
Okay,
think we'll be in a good spot.
that sounds good. Then we should probably do that for both of them because they're kind of
Yes.
Agreed.
legislation that pairs together. So,
The companion, yeah.
all right. Yep, let's do that then.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks, guys. Okay, at this time, I need a motion and a second and a roll call vote to go into executive session for the sole purpose of considering the purchase of property for public purposes.
Revolt moves.
Where in
Council adjourn
second?
into executive session for the purchase of public property.
Okay, and where in seconds? Ben, will you please call the roll?
Member Stroya,
Yes.
Member Soretta,
Yes.
Member Revolt,
Yes.
Member Fonte,
Yes.
Member Warren,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Yes.
and Member Foltz.
Yes.
7 yes.
All right. We'll wait for your prompt, Ben.
President Peters, who would you like me to put into executive session with council?
Oh, who?
Who other than council members would you like
Oh,
in executive session?
I would say everybody. Right?
Mayor and the administrator.
Mayor, we're going to need finance as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be it.
All right, I will now open the breakout room for executive session, and for everyone watching on the live stream, we will be back as soon as council returns.
Looks like we got everyone.
Like cat.
We are back on the record.
Okay, very good. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn executive session?
Revolt moves adjournment of the executive session. No action taken.
Where in second?
Thank you. Ben, please call the roll.
We don't need a roll call.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned from executive session. As Daryl said, no action taken. And that concludes our agenda tonight, folks. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
You want to run through the council
Where?
calendar?
Oh, you know what? Ben, I don't have. Oh, here we go.
On the
Thank you.
screen.
On the screen. Thank you very much. I misplaced my sheet. All right, council meeting calendar, October 12th, next Monday, city council meeting. 19th will be committee of the whole. And the 26th, we will have our public hearing on the proposed amendments to the outdoor dining, followed by 7 p.m. regular city council meeting. Okay. And that does it for that. So now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Warren.
Revolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Yep. Have a good evening.
You too.